happening, everyone? Welcome to the Sportscast. It's me, Andy Grant. We got Musky this week in the studio. Gary does send his apology. He actually sent a little text saying, I've not abandoned the pod. I am still here.
Defo here next week, he said, so that's a promise.
There you go. He's just been mega busy. Massive thank you again to the Feathers this weekend. So tonight you've got Fran Doran on from the Red Rum Club. He's playing tonight. At the weekend you've got all the footy on, as you'd expect. And then Saturday night you've got Jay Murray on. That is your entertainment this weekend in the Feathers. Cannot remember the name of them. Remember we mentioned two lads who were on last week. They were unbelievable, you know.
I saw a little clip. Someone put a little live post on.
So good, you know.
Yeah.
Joycey and obviously Parksy, the lads who own this, they must have some decent phone book of like
good connections, yeah.
Good connections when it comes to the our music on. It's they've always got some belters on each week, and this week it's like I say, Fran Doran and Jay Murray. So yeah, get down if you like the music, and then obviously if you like the footy, that's on all weekend as well. So again, big thanks to the Feathers, bottom of Harris Drive on Hawthorne Road, for letting us record here and be the home of the pod. How was your weekend and what's been going on in your life, lad?
Not much, to be honest. Just a bit of work, training and work. Nothing.
Training?
Nothing special. Yeah.
In the gym?
No.
No.
Like teacher training.
If I go to the gym, no.
Yeah, no. Just a bit of teacher training this week. Nothing special. I saw your post. Was it yesterday when you went down to the dock?
Yeah, wild sauna.
Little plunge, was it?
Going there again today, lad. Yeah. I want to start doing it twice a week if I can.
Hot and cold.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, I done it for charity in January, and you had to actually break ice in the Mersey to get in, so it wasn't as cold. Obviously, now doing it in March, but yeah, it's cool. You jump in the Mersey, and then you jump in the sauna, and then there's a couple of baths there as well that are varying degrees of coldness, if you like. You just do 20-minute sauna, you know, little 2 or 3 minute in the cold, 20-minute sauna. Do that 2 or 3 times. I think it's about £7 for the hour. It's good. Yeah,
decent.
When you can.
I mean, I can't imagine that I'll be doing the cold one. Like, I'll come down for a sauna one time.
Yeah, but you don't want to be all hot and sweaty then going off to your day, do you? So you finish off a nice cold shower and then you're off.
Yeah, a quick shower will be
you do feel good, like. I mean, I'm not I'm not one of these like getting up at 4 a.m. doing it type thing, but a couple of times a week it's nice to do, you know what I mean?
Get into that routine.
Yeah. What else was I going to ask you as well? There was nothing on really last weekend, was there?
No,
I felt a little bit lost.
Yeah, it was a bit of a dead week, wasn't it? Sports-wise for us. Obviously, when your team isn't playing, your weekend you don't realise how much your weekend does revolve around.
Oh, massively, yeah.
The Prem being on. So yeah, it was more of a chilled one. Not really much going on. More about looking forward to what was the midweek fixtures and then coming up this weekend as well.
What I will make a note of saying as well, it's one of them, isn't it? Like, it's really nice to get engagement with people, whether it's on the Insta or the YouTube and stuff, and it's great, you know, people agreeing and disagreeing, you know, all of that. Listen, it's sport, it's about debate, it's about opinions, I get that. When is it going to be the day, though, where I can make a point or you can make a point on whether it's Liverpool, Everton, Man United, football in general, whatever, and someone then comments, which it does happen, and go, oh, you know what, lads, I agree with you there, or you know what, lads, chat and shite, don't agree with that. You'd have a little back and forth, great, I'm all up for that. What point is it when you just get called a scouse, bin dipping rat? Like, why does that have to come into it? Why not just go, I heard what you're saying, I don't actually agree with that though because of X, Y and Z. Why is there?
Do you know what, right? I think for last week's ones, mainly the United one, we did actually have quite a number of United fans going, do you know what, I can't disagree there. Like a small number, but then you were getting some just saying like, as soon as I saw it was a Scouser, and I was like, just listen to the points. The points are actually all valid, and if it was on another podcast or somebody from Manchester was saying it, would you agree or disagree? Don't just disagree because it's a Scouser. Like, the points were actually valid. Like, sometimes you are a bitter twat, but then last week's ones you're actually bringing facts to the table, and you're still getting the same kind of feedback anyway.
The best hate on social media is when someone goes, as soon as I heard he was a Scouser, I stopped listening, but then continue to comment. I think that's the best one.
Yeah.
Like, so
I mean, it's great for the algorithm, like, so nice one for that.
Yeah. You just think, come on, actually have a chat and engage. That's probably my one take from last weekend's show and then the weekend of sport.
And to be fair, because of the fact that Liverpool were in a bad position, like some bits in the 90s, some bits in the noughties, the Roy Hodgson era, we could kind of reply to some of those people saying, no, we know how you're feeling right now because of this, this and this. And for some of them, they were like, yeah, fair enough. But then for others, it was just like, yeah, you're a scouser, fuck off.
Yeah. One other thing before we get into the show, have you saw the Jurgen Klopp documentary?
I haven't seen any of it yet. I've heard mixed reviews, so I don't know what to do.
Well, yeah, I've heard mixed reviews, but I really liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really
seen all of it?
Yeah, smashed all of it. Done one, and then I've done 3 in one day. Make a little cameo. Know what I mean?
I mean, you're making it sound like they called you in for an interview.
They may as well have.
They took a bit of crowd footage from one of the games and you just happened to be stood on your seat or whatever.
It was the Barcelona game when Divock had just put us 4-0 up.
I can't remember that game.
Oh, God, yeah. Let's not even go into that. No, I really enjoyed it. I think some people will probably question why Harvey Elliott's dad is making such a prominent role in one of the episodes.
I think they had to change the narrative, didn't they? I think they were hoping that Klopp was going to at least win one of the big trophies last year, and that would have been about his final season, half season or whatever. And then because of the bit of capitulation that ended up happening with the team from March, April time.
It's a mad pivot to go from we're going to make this documentary about Klopp winning the treble to let's put Harvey Elliott's dad in it.
It must be. A lot of the players were like, do you know what, I can't be arsed.
Well, yeah, I thought you'd see more of Van Dijk and Salah and stuff, but, very limited roles in it.
I'm thinking that their content was either cut or they were hoping to have that content further down the line, and then by the point where they needed them, they were like, I'm not going to do that, because what's the point in celebrating something when we feel like shit at the moment? Mm-hmm. And in that moment, they probably did feel bad because they were going for the league and they could have potentially won more trophies at that point. And then the fact that we ended up just falling quite a bit short and where everyone was hoping for Klopp's last season. I think the narrative had to change, and then whoever was up for making an appearance probably changed as well. And that's probably where you're getting more of the younger players, the youth players, saying how good he is about bringing them through. I've seen quite a bit of that on Twitter. Yeah,
so you had Dan's was in one episode, Elliott in another. Listen, I liked it. It was good. I thought it was good to see a bit of Klopp, a bit more of him, talking, and how it ends is quite nice as well. And yeah, I liked it. What I will say, the other thing as well, we mentioned last week, just before we get into the show, I mentioned about Liverpool's record of not being beaten 2-0. When you look into it, I actually remember the games that it's happened in. So it was Everton in COVID when they beat us 2-0. The one before that was West Brom when Klopp done the wave. Oh, Palace, sorry. Who was it, West Brom or Palace? West
Brom was where they went to the Kop.
Yeah, it wasn't that then, sorry. It was must have been Palace, I think. It was 2-0. And then the one before that was Chelsea, 2-0 Gerrard slip.
Did we not? Oh, just 2-0.
2-0, yeah.
Right, okay. Because we're going to say we've conceded more goals than that for the Watford game, for example, when we won the league and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean,
at home.
No, not. Oh, sorry, it was at home.
At home. Yeah, I was going to say because when I looked into it, you can actually remember. I think that's what's the great thing about Liverpool under Klopp type thing. When we have got beat, you can kind of remember them, can't you?
Well,
it's been few and far between.
Yeah, and Van Dijk's record shows that as well. And obviously, he wasn't there for a lot of the times where we kind of fell off because he was injured and stuff. And that was the time where we really struggled under Klopp, and we had, youth players and centre mids playing centre back and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, you're going to leak goals there. But yeah, Van Dijk's record's silly at Anfield.
Yeah. Anyway, should we crack on to this week of sport?
Yeah.
Before we do, actually, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to our channel and obviously like, comment, and give it a little share in any WhatsApp groups. It would be greatly appreciated.
Yeah, we got ourselves to 12,000 subscribers last week. So nice one, everyone who gave a little push at the back end of last week. And
you know what? For someone who, and this is, I'll take full responsibility. There's someone who hasn't really over the years thought of it as a proper, if you like, business, although it kind of is, I guess. And I haven't really pushed it much. It's great to have, to think 12,000 people subscribe. So yeah, nice one for that. Right, so we're here now, sitting here Thursday morning on the back of what can only be described as a godlike performance from our holy goalie.
Absolute smash and grab job.
I can't remember a time where, well, definitely a Liverpool team have hung on for dear life like that.
There's quite the storm that they had to weather,
it reminded me of how we played against Madrid, and Courtois was just unbelievable in the final. I mean, I genuinely can't remember a performance like that apart from Courtois. Definitely not a Liverpool goalie. I think a mix of, because normally we're never that bad defensively. Again, I don't even know whether we were that bad or that's just a really good PSG team.
They were fluid, like they were everywhere. No one was sticking to any form of position. The midfield and forwards were just kind of like flitting wherever they wanted, wherever the gap was, and some of the passing through the lines, like you can see on telly, there's a runner there, but obviously whoever's meant to be there is looking for someone else because they've crossed their man, and it was a bit of a back to the walls job defensively. I don't think they were terrible defensively throughout the game, but there was just moments where you're like, what's happening there?
Yeah.
Like, how's that happened? There was one where, did you see the one where Van Dijk ran towards Dembele and then went, oh, actually, no, I'll go back into position?
It kind of just opened up for Dembele, didn't it?
Yeah, because like I thought, at least step up and play him off or whatever, but he was clearly onside, and I was like, why wouldn't you just stay with the man? If you're going to be deeper than everybody else, you may as well be as close to the man as you possibly can. And then, obviously, holy goalie smashed it.
Yeah, some of his saves, I mean, I think it got mentioned to him on the CBS stuff with Carragher and Micah Richards and Henry, where he's not just saving it, and sometimes you can save it and it can fall into the 6-yard box. He's really like pushing it away. He's almost like punching it away with his palm, getting out of danger, which ironically is what their keeper should have done if he had a bit of a stronger wrist. It was just unbelievable. And again, I don't think where I thought we'd struggle was both our fullbacks, but they seemed to just play right through us, didn't they? It wasn't just coming in off the wings. They were almost just playing right through the middle as well at times.
There was one bit in the first half where Robertson had, I think it might have been Dembele run past them, and it wasn't just Robertson. I think it was McAllister as well. That's the only time I thought, and it was fairly early on where I thought he's got his number today. But then they didn't actually capitalise on maybe that little dip in confidence that Robertson might have had for that few minutes, and then he did play himself into the game and looked fairly comfortable for someone who has had a bit of a stop-start season and up and down season.
I think the one positive I will say with Liverpool, I mean, obviously aside from the result, I thought there was times in the second half where we did play through them, and almost if you could get past that kind of bank of midfield that they had, there did seem to be space between their midfield and defence, but we just didn't.
They were high, yeah.
We didn't really seem to capitalise on it. I don't know whether we were just mentally tired because we did have to run around for 90 minutes, literally. I don't even think there was a 5 or 10 minutes. We might have had 5 minutes at the very start of the game, but there was a good 85 minutes of like just us chasing shadows, wasn't it?
I think it's the mental side of things as well, needing to be switched on. For that amount of time. It's not just like running around and chasing shadows that was happening. It was like you've got to be mentally prepared to, or like not even have any kind of dip in concentration, because how fast they can get from back to front and playing through those lines and how fluid they were. There was no like kind of opportunity for us to have any kind of lapse in concentration, because anytime that did happen, they capitalised and did make us look poor in some bits. Going back to Alisson though, like he came off and said like that might be my best performance ever.
Yeah.
And when you think about a good goalkeeping performance, it's like they've made a match-winning save, which he has done in the past, but he made like 5 match-winning saves. I think he saved 9, and like a high majority of them were like world-class saves. Like it could have been a bit of a score fest for the PSG players, but he pulls them well. He's out the bag.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to even argue that if it wasn't for him, it wouldn't have been 3 or 4-0, because we did not look like scoring at any point. I think the bookies gave an odds boost on it. Was 4-6. They changed it to 6-4 for Dembele and Salah to have a shot on target. So 20 quid max bet, so I had 20 quid on it. Salah didn't even look close to even getting a shot off.
Didn't get a sniff.
And
he's allowed to have his off days, obviously. Like, but I think the game just wasn't right for him. I think as you were saying before, like as soon as we got the ball, it was like, let's try and get as far forward as quickly as possible. So sometimes the lads are just trying to run out with it because there's no one further ahead of them. I think there was a bit where Trent had the ball and he looked up, realised there was nothing there, so kind of tried to go himself and then got caught in possession, which looked sloppy, but there was no other option.
You're on the back foot again then straight away.
Yeah, he could have just hoofed it and got everyone back in position, but that was like his best option. That was his only option at that point.
I mean, I'm not even suggesting for a minute that the Liverpool players thought like this, but and I know this doesn't really affect the performance, but do you think maybe there's a bit of a feeling of, with fans and maybe in the media, that you look at PSG, they get put down with the kind of, they're in a farmers league. You'd also look at it and you've kind of think of the Messi and Neymar kind of PSG and not really a team full of individuals. I think maybe there was a little bit of that thinking, a little bit of disrespect on PSG, thinking, it's only PSG, you know what I mean? These are crap. Liverpool are flying in the league. We should batter these. I'm not saying Arne Slot thought like that, but I think for everyone, fans and media, it was a bit like, wow, this is a team under Luis Enrique who can actually play.
I think it was evident yesterday, but I do think the build-up was kind of saying this is going to be Liverpool's biggest test. I
just think though PSG, it's got that tagline of.
I think you're right in saying like with the league that they're in and all that kind of stuff, but I think especially in like the last round of Champions League games, they did look really good. And they have got a good squad. So like even the lads that were coming off the bench yesterday were like players that have got decent numbers this season. And you're saying like, oh, it's great that certain players were coming off, but they were getting replaced by good players off the bench as well. It didn't give us any break. It didn't let our defence or our defensive players think, oh, sound, they've gone off.
Yeah.
It was like, this game is going to the end because they've got fresh legs and they've got lads who are actually decent on the ball as well.
He's a good manager, Enrique, as well, isn't he?
Yeah.
Really good manager.
He has got them playing like fluid football, but like good possession football. Like it's not just that they're passing it round the back. They're actually trying to be purposeful with the possession that they've got as well. And considering
quick on closing down as well.
Yeah, considering like Liverpool have got the best defensive record, I think, in our league. It did look like they knew how to play against us. And thankfully, as we said, like Alisson pulled off some worldies, and I think it might just give them a bit of a wake-up call for next week in terms of like, we need to maybe be a little bit more rigid in our defensive duties, especially because we're a goal up now. We don't want to have to chase the game, but obviously you don't want a team like us sitting back for the whole game. We did it against City quite well, and in some parts in the PSG game we did it quite well, but we don't want a full 90 minutes of...
Couldn't be bothered watching that again for 90 minutes.
No, you just turn your stomach, wouldn't it?
You mentioned there about PSG subs. The subs that we made end up coming on: Jones, Nunez and Elliott. I think they all played a part, didn't they?
Massively.
I think our front three, you mentioned then, can't be at the office all the time. They didn't play great, did they? I think Diaz, I've never seen him give away so many fouls. Jota just looked just completely off it, and Salah just wasn't in the game at all. They ended up getting replaced. I would have brought short off the midfield a bit sooner, but anyway, and when Endo and Jones did come on, I thought Endo done what you'd expect. We spoke about him glowingly last week, didn't we? Saying what a player he is. He done exactly that, didn't he? It was just the legs. I thought Jones looked great as well when he come on, give us a little bit of a different option. Nunez, I wasn't screaming for him to come on, if I'm being honest. He ends up playing a vital part and getting the assist for Elliott, and obviously Elliott scores with his first touch. So all four subs, had a massive part to play. And again, you've got to give the manager his due there, haven't you?
Yeah, definitely. And we were saying last week about how, you've got to be a good squad player if you're going to be a squad player. And Slot was basically saying Nunez, for the last few weeks, hadn't been a good squad player because he was coming on and moping about, not putting the effort in and all that kind of stuff. Every single one of those players that were on the pitch yesterday, from start to finish, they played like a proper squad. So the lads that came in, they knew what the role was, as you were saying. Endo, within the first couple of minutes, just absolutely took someone out, but took the ball as well. And it kind of like gave us a little bit of as fans, a little bit of like, right, we got the proper version of Endo here that we are expecting of every time. And he even said in one of his interviews this week, I know what my role is. I'd like more game time, obviously, but I'm here to do a job for the team.
I think he's going to get used more and more now as well as we get into the crunch of the season. I think that, when you're hanging on and you want to rest players, you're rotating a bit. I think he'll get used more and more now. Definitely,
especially when you're in a position now where you want to be shoring up a lead rather than extending a lead. And he's the kind of player that you would bring on. And similarly, Jones kind of just took the wind out of their sails a little bit.
So skillful, Jones. I think
sometimes
you sometimes forget how skillful he is. There was a few times where he was stuck in a pocket
and he just
little bit of
shimmies.
skill, and he's out and away, and it gives us a bit of a breather. Yeah, I thought he was great when he come on.
That little drop of the shoulder that he was doing last night was great. He just, one of the things that we were struggling with for a large portion of the game was keeping hold of the ball when we had it. It just seemed to be like, as I was saying before, players just trying to dribble out or like make 2 passes and then trying to like clip it in behind to someone who just had to really chase it. It wasn't like a good ball. It was like a hitting hope ball. But then Jones seemed to like come on and just go, right, I'm going to try and calm it all down. I'm going to absorb the ball a little bit. I'll invite some players in. I'll then knock it off. And it just allowed some of our other players to kind of play themselves into the game a little bit more in those latter stages. And it just gave a massive air of calm across the team. And then obviously your mate Nunez, who you said shouldn't get a sniff.
I mean, listen, he's a Liverpool player. I will support him. I mean, let's not get too carried away.
I'm not getting carried away.
And anyone, you know what I thought as he come on last night? I thought all I can think about is the shit I'm going to get in the group chat and maybe the shit I'm going to get on Instagram or from the pod because of how much I've slagged Nunez. What I will say, right, because I hope Nunez does pop up and win us a few more games at the end of the season. Even if he does that, it still will not change my opinion about him. He is not a Liverpool striker. I hope he does, and I hope he wins us the league. You know, I hope he gets loads of last-minute winners, and I hope that happens. But I'd give you the same arguments and go, all right, would you want Divock Origi leading the line next season? Do you know what I mean? Divock Origi scored, he's got a highlight reel of important last-minute winners. You wouldn't want him leading the line next season. So if Nunez goes on a run now and scores in the last minute of every game, great, made up for him. We still need to fuck him off next season.
I think if anything, if he does do that kind of stuff, it brings some positive kind of media his way and positive coverage that it will only increase his value. Now, one of the things that I was worried about when Slot was coming out saying basically like he's not doing what he should be doing, and I don't like the fact that not only is he not scoring, but he's showing a poor attitude. As he's saying that, I'm thinking, but we also might need to try and shift him in the summer.
Yeah, start saying some positive things about him.
So, like, if people know that you want to get rid, then they're going to lowball you, aren't they?
And if people know he's got a shit attitude, no one's going to want him anyway.
Yeah. And to be fair, like, the majority of the time with us and in his previous teams, he's shown a very good attitude. And that's one of the reasons why he probably is still adored by some fans, is that majority of the time, up until the last few months, it's been his attitude that's got him through a lot of the games that he hasn't necessarily performed in. So when you then lose the thing that everyone's kind of applauding you for, then, as you were saying last week, like, what else are you offering? Now, yesterday, he kind of took nearly 3 players out of the game.
He done well, yeah. He's jumped up at the header. He got quite fortunate. I think it landed in between them off the shoulder. It fell down to him.
It's a great knock by Alisson as well, by the way. I know we just mentioned Alisson saves, but...
Yeah, he's done it so many times, and he normally setting Salah off on as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, Nunez jumps up for the header. It falls kind of kindly to him. He got a bit fortunate. But then, fair play to him, he stays composed. Elliott makes a great run into space. And, I mean, I could have rolled in that pass, to be fair. But listen, fair play to him. I don't want to knock him too much. Fair play. He found Elliott. And Elliott, with first touch of the game, and like we said before, their keeper, if that's Alisson, he's saving it, isn't he? Like,
and he's a big fella, don't you?
I like him. He's a good keeper, him as well. But his hands just wasn't as strong as Alisson's been all game. And the ball rolls into the back of the net, which... had everyone here in the feathers going mad. And yeah, just couldn't, but I was just there going, wow, how have we got away with that?
And you know what, like, give him his due. Like, Elliott hasn't had the greatest of seasons in terms of, like, he knows he's out of favour, and he knows he's very much a bit part player now. He was getting nowhere near the minutes that he has been getting in previous seasons.
And I'm a big fan of Elliott, you know,
yeah,
big fan.
That shows, like, his attitude and his focus hasn't wavered. He only got asked to come on in the dying part of the game, and probably was more coming on to try and keep some possession. Just
hold the ball up, I think. Yeah, like, a little bit like Jones we've just mentioned.
His role probably wasn't going to be go and try and get on the ends of a little through ball and score. It will have been, you might actually keep the ball a little bit better than what Salah's doing at the moment. I think Salah looked a little bit tired and a little bit leggy yesterday, which, as we were saying before, you can have an off game, and more often than not, you should have an off game every now and again. It probably means that he should be firing on all cylinders over the next couple of games, touch wood.
I think one thing why I've got so much, you know, time and respect for Elliott, he's so young because he's been on the in and around it for so long now. I think everyone just thinks he's like 27, 28, and he's, I think, 21, 22. I think he's still so young. and the career he's had already. So yeah, I'm a big fan, and I'm glad he got
Got his flowers
yesterday.
I think Carragher might have said something about someone getting flowers yesterday. You know,
everyone's listening to the pod, aren't they? Just copying. The other point of note on the match is the two contentious for all the Blues. Don't worry, we're going to come on to you and anyone who just hates Liverpool in general. But not only were we outplayed for 90 minutes, we're very fortunate on the referee decisions. I thought that offside. I didn't think he was offside.
I didn't even contemplate it.
No.
That's the mad thing about it, is that we were all messaging in the group and that, going, fucking hell, good goal, or why is he getting that much space and all that? And then it's like, yeah, it might be offside.
Yeah, so unlucky him, like his heel. So unlucky.
I mean, it shows how good that semi-automated stuff is.
That's
though.
what I was gonna say. Yeah, I mean, the positives for Liverpool is it was offside, but also as a fan, how quickly that was done.
Yeah. So remember the Everton? Was it the Everton United the other week? And it was 4 minutes or something to see whether the goal was offside, because it was well, there was this bit where he might have been off, and then that person headed in. There was loads of things happening, and it took 3-4 minutes. That one,
20 seconds.
That one yesterday was just yeah, it might be offside here. Oh, might it be? It's been given. Yeah, he's offside, and that's how quick it seemed to go. And before you've even thought about getting replays up and all that, they didn't even show a replay. That's how fast it was.
Yeah.
It was just the ref's given off, or the system has given offside and let the ref know.
You wonder why, or I mean, there's obviously a reason, but why isn't it getting rolled out quicker in the Premier League? Because again,
there's been apprehension, and I think it is it getting rolled out in one of the later stages of the FA Cup, or it's something, or it was that was a potential time to roll it out, which I think it's mad rolling something out midway through a season.
I don't think it's fair either on competition and all that.
Yeah, but yeah, it showed that it works, and even when we've seen World Cup and Euros, when they use it, it's just it's offside, and it's not human error. It's there's a system there, and you just take for their word. Yeah, it must have been offside.
Yeah, and like you say, he stuck it in the back of the net rather perfectly as well. But yeah, off the hooks there, Liverpool, and then also, which I didn't agree with the ref at all, Kanate pushes essentially someone in the back. He's trying to make out it's a shoulder barge. It was a shove. You could argue whether it was outside the box.
Like a shove and extend, wasn't it? It was like a...
I'll start with my shoulder, but then I'll lean in and actually give you the push. I think the only thing you could argue whether it was inside or outside the box, either way, definitely a foul. And I'd say probably a red card as well, given he was the last man.
Yeah, and I think they realised quite quickly it was outside the box, and that's why it went to checking for a red card. Because if he's in the box, then it's a penalty and probably a yellow with that double jeopardy thing. But then if it's outside the box, it's probably going to be a red. And as you just said there, Defo got let off the hook there. I don't know many people that have said it was definitely right call from the ref. Obviously, we've seen quite a lot of Liverpool being lucky and all that on Twitter because of injuries and all that. But we got a touch of luck yesterday when it came to that call from the ref, early on as well.
Yeah, because that could have just, given how we were playing, I mean, going down to 10 men, I mean, it's not even bare thinking about what the score might have been. But yeah, very, very lucky. And to everyone who hates Liverpool, fucking unlucky. The one good thing as well about Liverpool, which is that you just brought up there, Liverpool have now beaten the reigning champions of England, Germany, Spain, and now France without conceding.
England did twice because we beat City twice this season.
I mean, that's impressive, that, isn't it? I mean, that is... And for anyone who says, we spoke about last week, the league's shite. Well, how can it be shite if we're beating everyone else in their own leagues?
The champions, yeah.
So, yeah, it's massive, yeah. Unbelievable.
Maybe footy in general is just...
Maybe Everton's just shit.
Yeah.
Everton in life is shit. You know what else is shit? But I should have mentioned at the start. Crosby Marina, the ice cream van, 5 ice creams.
I saw your Instagram story.
25 quid for 5 ice creams. What's going on there? That's what else is shit. It's not just football.
Gonna have to bring your own next time, lad. Bring a little cooler.
Imagine, yeah.
Little shock ices.
Couldn't fucking believe. I had a little moaning, and everyone was saying I was getting old, calling me an old grumpy bastard because I was moaning about the price of ice cream.
You are an old grumpy bastard, but the bad thing is it's not a surprise.
But you know, everything I moan about, anytime I have a little moan on Instagram, everyone always agrees with what I'm moaning about. That's what I'll say.
I was more shocked you were shocked, if that makes sense.
I've not bought an ice cream for ages, to be fair, at the ice cream van. My body's a temple and all that, you know what I mean?
I mean, if you're on your own as well, looking
It's
a
a
bit
bit weird,
pedo-y.
isn't it? It's out at the park on my own buying ice creams for all the kids. I did not do that. I had kids who I actually knew. They wasn't random kids. But yeah. Anyway, so that's not a, football shite, clearly. Liverpool are shite. And fucking ice creams are a rip-off.
One thing that was shite that I feel the need to bring up because everyone seemed to be talking about it last night, either during the game or when you're having a little scroll after the game on Twitter. Rio Ferdinand, mate.
Yeah, I did. I was obviously in the Feathers watching it, so I didn't hear the commentary properly, but I've heard everyone and seen on Twitter and in the group chats that he was just being a little bit too biased.
A little bit too biased and just a little bit too chatty.
Too chatty.
Yeah, do you know, like, so...
I know you're commentating, lad, but just fucking pipe down for me.
He was like the co-commentator. He's like the third man in the room type thing, where you've got your main commentator, I think it was Fletch, then you had your co-commentator, and then you've got the third man, which should be like a player who gives a little bit of insight every now and again.
Speak when spoken to.
Speak when spoken to. But it was like he was taking the reins off the main commentator who gets paid to commentate. And for a lot of it, it was like he was either crying stuff in, or he was like, I think that's definitely a red card. I don't believe that the ref hasn't given that. And even like the first part of the second half, they were still talking about that red card. And I was like,
a little bit too bitter.
The game was really good. Like, there was a lot of good play that you can be talking about. So stop bringing up this narrative that you want. Like, I said it a couple of weeks ago, to be fair, when it was the derby, that he may as well have had an Everton kit on, because he was saying, like, if I was playing against Liverpool, I'd do this, I'd do this. Just calm down a little bit.
I seen a thing with him on a podcast as well, and he reckoned he was better than Van Dijk. So
he's... Yeah,
do you know what I think about?
He proper fancies himself, like, doesn't he?
Do you know what I think's mad, right, about... I could go off on a tangent here, I won't, but I think it's hilarious, right, in life, in sport, but in life, how, you know, certain things are just forgotten about in life, and it's just one of those things. It's like the narrative for certain things is just so... It's mad. And it's like... I seen it on the... Martin O'Neill was on the Overlap the other day with, you know, Gary Neville and all them, and he said a great bit of advice he got told was something like, if oh god, I'll have to come find it, but it's something like perceptions. Everything in life is perception, and it's like, if you've got a perception as an early riser, you can stay in bed all day. And it's like we have these things in life of, you know, perceptions of people. And I think with Rio Ferdinand, he is judged as one of the greatest defenders in the Premier League history, and fair enough, he was an unbelievable defender. I just think it's mad how everyone forgets he had a 9-month ban for drugs.
It's not only that though, it's like...
It just baffles me how everyone just forgets about that.
Yeah, and I think the era that we're in, it's so easy to go, right, that player's made a mistake, I'm going to make a clip of it, I'm going to throw it on Instagram or Twitter or whatever. But then, back when they were playing, you just watch the game, there'll be an analysis of it for like half an hour or whatever, and then that game's gone. Yeah. The footage of that game probably doesn't really see much of the light of day anymore. Whereas now, especially with the amount of like toxicity that people have got towards every other fan base, it's like, yeah, Salah hasn't scored there, let's make a fail compilation there, or Van Dijk's just being dribbled past, let's play that 3 times and play it in slow motion. It's like all of these things where people want to jump on that player's shit because of this one thing. If you made a compilation, which I'm pretty sure that they are out there, compilation of people like Ferdinand, Vidic, Terry, the amount of times that they've been dribbled past or put on their arse and all that kind of stuff, it happened. It's just that no one was making a compilation of it like there and then.
No one was making TikTok reels about
no one was making
Ferdinand
clickbait.
Getting nutmegged, was he?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think just the perception he's got of being this almost colossal, that, you know, was week in, week out, you know, never injured, never suspended. You were banned for 9 months for failing a drugs test.
To be fair,
or not taking a drugs test.
Not taking it, yeah. Him and Vidic were a great partnership, and that United team was great, and one of the reasons it was great was because they were so solid at the back. But some of the goals that they gave away was silly. Like, when people put Vidic in this category of like, he might be better than Van Dijk, and it's like, I've not seen him against Torres, and that's just like one player against him that kind of shook him up.
That's what I mean. You'd have to be a bit kind of, not bitter, but you'd have to have a bit of a mission to go and look through every United game and find all of Ferdinand's mistakes, which I'm not going to do. Like you say, I'm sure there are out there, but I just think sometimes when he talks about it and he backs himself, like you say, loves himself a bit, I just feel like going, lad, you know, maybe people of a certain age can remember you properly. You know, you were great, but fucking hell, calm down a bit. Yeah. On to the weekend then, that's Southampton. I think it poses a bit of a big week here now because you've got obviously Southampton at home, but given how bad it was midweek against PSG, given the task we've got when they come to Anfield next week, I think he's probably having a bit of a rethink about his potential team of what it was going to be. Because there's no way, I don't think you've got a plan in your head. We'll play this team against PSG, then we play this team against Southampton, ready for this team. I think given how much we were given the runaround, given that the fact that the tie is still, up for grabs, I think there'll be a lot more rotation than maybe he wanted to.
Yeah, he needs to go full strength, doesn't he, next week? I think the majority of the spine's probably going to stay the same.
I think Endo might start,
You could get an Endo start. You could get a Jones start as well. So
even an Elliott start.
For who though?
If you had, listen, this is a really, really poor Southampton team. I think, what are the 8 or 9 points? They're probably on course to get one of the lowest tallies in Prem history. I'd go for a midfield of Jones, Endo and Elliott. Yeah, I would.
I think he'd see that as too much of a risk. I reckon he'd want at least one, and do you know what, wouldn't be surprised if it was 2 of that his main 3 in there, just to be like, I need to show respect to this team.
Our midfield they got a run around yesterday.
Yeah,
like a run around. I think just give them a few days off. I know what you're saying. It's a big change to swap all 3, but
because it's something that he's never done. And I think last night's game, I saw some weird stats. It was like the amount of times that starting 11 has started is more than any of Klopp's starting 11s.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. In all his time.
And Jota's been injured for most of the season.
That's insane, that.
I mean, it shows more of how much Klopp was like tinkering and like taking one player out here and there and stuff. I'd have to double check that stat, but it's
that mad stat at the Champions
up.
League final, isn't it? That's the first time that team had ever played together or something. But yeah.
Or that season, that was the only time that season, I think.
Yeah, I just think it's he's got to rotate a lot, and I think it's one of them. He's looking at Southampton at home. It should be a bank of 3 points, shouldn't it? I mean, I'd be surprised if Liverpool are anything less than 1-10 with the bookies.
Is this one of your games where Nunez gets his start or not?
No, mate. I would not have him anywhere near the pitch, honestly.
So what do you reckon? So
I'd have Chiesa in rather than Nunez.
I'm assuming Gakpo should be all right to play because he travelled with them, didn't he? But then wasn't selected for the squad because he had a knock.
What would you say about Gakpo, Chiesa and Salah?
Well, I'm play who through the middle.
Chiesa through the middle. Gakpo on the left. Honestly, mate, this is a really poor Southampton side. I
mean, it is. It's one of the poorest Premier League teams that potentially is going to finish the season. They're on 9 points at the moment out of 27 games. So they're picking up a point every 3 games, which is awful.
That's crazy, yeah.
But it was only 3-2 in the last game when we played them away. We had an off game.
Yeah, I remember that, yeah.
They played all right actually.
I know, but they're now.
I mean, they're probably in a different headspace now. They probably know that they're done and dusted and
they're resigned to relegation now. Yeah. So I think
I'm not sure it'll be as wholesale changes as that. Like Salah starts anyway because he doesn't not start.
I know what you mean because listen, you've just mentioned Denny. He likes to play the same players week in, week out. To get that, but if he wants to win the Champions League, there's not a chance that say 90% of that start 11 can play again Sunday and then do all that again on Tuesday. There's no chance. So I would err on the caution of make those whole, make a lot of changes and just bank on the fact that Southampton are so shit.
I reckon you might rest Kanate, bring Kwanzaa in. Robertson will probably get a rest for Shimikas.
Even bring Trent in if he's not back yet, is he, Bradley?
Trent will have to start. We haven't got another right back. So it might even be that Trent plays for the majority of the game and then they push Kwanzaa out there and bring Kanate on for the last 15, 20 or whatever. I don't think he'll change the whole 3. I reckon at least one of those 3 that played last night will start. Salah will have to start. we'd have to see how Gakpo is. But if Gakpo can play, then it gives Diaz a rest. And then it's a case of, do you try and persist with Jota and kind of get him into a good groove? Or are you thinking, we don't want him to have another poor performance?
It feels like he hasn't scored in ages.
Though,
I don't know when his last goal was, but I feel like we have not seen that Jota that we saw at the start of the season where, you know, he looked deadly, didn't he, in front of goal?
It just seems like he's trying a little bit too hard to make it happen. Whereas in the start of the season, it was all like instinctive stuff, and he had that like tenacity about him, and it just seems like he's a little bit lost when he's on the pitch at the moment. And I don't know whether it's just like he's lost a little bit of confidence, or he doesn't want to throw himself in case he gets injured again, or what. But last night it just didn't seem right for him, and it depends on how they're going to set up as well. If they're deep, then it might be all right to bring certain players in that can play footy, and then you wouldn't start a Nunez, for example. But yeah, it depends on how he sees that front line. Whether it's like, because Southampton are so poor, let's play Jota and try and break that tuck.
Or go completely against what I'm saying and actually start Nunez and hope that the Southampton game is his confidence boost, where he's playing against someone who are crap and he can score 2 or 3. But I don't even think Nunez could score 2 or 3 against Southampton, but let's wait and see.
I mean, I'd love to clip this up on Sunday and
I hope he can as well.
And then it's like you know what, I'd rather cry something in.
Yeah, listen, like I said before, I hope he gets a hat-trick against Southampton. Great. I'd still sell him in the summer though. He's fucking shite. And you know what?
I don't think anyone disagrees with that, by the way.
Yeah, so good.
I think it's just more of the fact that you've got certain people who are like, while he's wearing red, you need to back him. It's like, you can back someone, but you can also say when they're not playing well.
But anyone who starts being part of this kind of woke kind of, oh God, think of his mental health, he plays for Liverpool, you need to support him. They're not winners in my eyes. You're not, like, you can't have people, you can't bring people along if they're not good enough. Go and watch The Last Dance with Michael Jordan. That is what a winner is. Do you know what I mean? No one really liked him on the team, but he's like, you don't have to like me, just do what I say and we'll win. That's what you need. If Nunez was on Michael Jordan's team, he'd be getting slated every week. And
I think that's what Slot is quite good at, letting people know early, and when it happens, like, that wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
And then it's like, yeah, you can redeem yourself if you can. That's fine. I've got nothing against you as a person, but in terms of the team, that's not good enough.
Oh.
We saw the first game of the season with Kwanzaa, and he's only just had like a couple of performances where he looks a little bit less nervy and a little bit more confident. And that could just be that Jordan training, or even Jordan games, or after the game, Slot's gone, do you know what, played well there. Yeah. And then because he's kind of tore someone down a little bit, when you do give that praise, you go, I must have deserved that. Because
100%.
Slot does seem to have the attitude of everyone needs to be better.
And listen, if you're playing for a club like Liverpool, I don't know why fans have to get so like emotional about it. Or if you want to win, you've got to be fucking ruthless, haven't you? On that, before we move on to Everton, then, I did notice, I always get excited this time of year. You know, Cheltenham's on next week. The weather starts to get a bit better. Once March is over, you're straight into April. The Grand National's on. Liverpool are normally looking to start winning things by now. There's normally a couple of trips to Wembley booked. I know we've already got one in the diary. So it's an exciting time for me. This particular season, I've noted that, I'll just get the dates ready, it could be a momentous week coming up next month. So as it stands, on the 2nd of April, Wednesday night, it's the derby. Then it rolls straight into Thursday, Friday, Saturday, the Grand National. And then we play Fulham on the Sunday, where we could win the league. I mean, if that's not the greatest week of the year, I don't know what is.
I think that's a little bit too early to win the league. I know it still can happen depending on how our games go, or Arsenal's games go, and all that kind of stuff. And I know that I sent in a graphic the other day that it is down there as it could be one of the games where we can win it.
That was one of the games on the graphic.
Yeah, I just think that might be a little bit too early.
You say that.
I know Arsenal got United this week.
But Arsenal play United and then they play Chelsea.
See, that Chelsea game's the day of our final, so we'll be watching that in the Aroma Lounge.
So I think it's not the craziest shout in the world to think that for every Scouser who supports Liverpool could potentially have a Wednesday derby victory. Thursday, Friday, Saturday at the Grand National. Finished off on the Sunday by winning the Premier League.
I mean, I can't imagine there's many people that are doing all 5 of those days.
I will be.
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Yeah.
I will be doing all 5 of those days.
Nah,
When I say I'll be doing Fulham away, I'll be doing Fulham in a booze in Liverpool with a 4-day hangover watching us win the league. What a week that will be. Oh my God, imagine.
That's the perks of working for yourself, really. And there could be a lot of people phoning in work on the Monday. Like,
I don't think anyone, if that's a possibility, I think people will be taking a week off. Fucking not a chance that people are working that week or the week after for that matter.
Yeah.
Just imagine.
I can't see it being that early. Like,
I can. I think, I think Arsenal are going to focus on the Champions League now.
I mean, they did well this week, to be fair, and no one gave them that performance and that scoreline. I
think Arsenal fans are probably open, aren't they, that the fact that they put 6 or 7 goals in, they found the shooting boots, and it can then transform then into the Premier League. But
that's got to be a massive confidence boost there, because everyone was saying basically for this fixture this week, where did they get the goals from? Even like, I think Henry said something like, I'm struggling to see Arsenal progressing here, and then they put on a 7-1 performance. Now I didn't watch it, but the scoreline suggests that it must have been a bit of a breeze for them.
Yeah, and listen, they are playing United this weekend. How terrible they are, but yeah, I don't know. That Fulham game Fulham away could be a good party day, I think. Right, let's move on to Everton first before we have anyone moaning saying that we don't talk about Everton. Obviously, Gary will be in next week and talk more about them, but from what I've seen again, just the Moisey miracle continues, doesn't it?
Yeah. So one thing that we've been saying the last couple of weeks is about them being in a good place and not really conceding and not losing. I think they're getting to a point now where they'd like to have a win. I think have they drawn the last 3?
No, the last 2.
The last 2, and then they had the Palace game. Was it?
Which they won,
yeah.
So they've won 1 in 4. Yeah.
Now, for where they are, as you were saying over the last couple of weeks, like safe, they're 10 points clear of Wolves now or something like that. They're 22 and 32 or
they're
something.
Still only 16th, but yeah, they're even more now. They're 15 points clear relegation.
Oh yeah, because that was Wolves and not Ipswich, yeah. So depending on how the fixtures go and how the results go this weekend, I think they can go as high as 13th.
Which is mad, by the way.
If United are playing Arsenal, then the bookies would have that down as an Arsenal win, won't they?
Yeah.
So that's probably how it would play out. I reckon United probably get a draw at best. And Everton should win against Wolves, but Wolves are a bit of a mad team, aren't they? We saw it a couple of weeks ago when we played against them. They're not performing the way that their league's place suggests, but they're just not getting results.
Yeah.
And now they've got Cunha out because of him being a silly sausage on the weekend, and
saw that, yeah.
Putting one of the ball, or putting his head towards one of the Bournemouth players. He just looks a bit mad, doesn't he? Like, I think that might cost him a big move,
No, I think he's. I think he's.
Do you reckon someone like Liverpool will go, yeah, we'll have him?
Potentially, yeah. I think it's got to a point with that Cunha. Listen, it looks like he's a great player. I mean, he starts for Brazil, doesn't he? I think he's in the Brazil squad anyway.
He's been suspended twice this season.
Yeah, but I think, listen, he's a big fish in a small pond there, isn't he? I think if one of the bigger clubs come for him,
you think he'd knock that on the head.
Yeah, and he's surrounded by other experienced pros who have kind of been there, seen it, done it. I can't see him acting like that if Van Dijk's his captain. There's not a chance. I think
Van Dijk will get him at headlock.
Yeah, just sit him in the corner and tell him to be quiet. Yeah, I don't think he acts like that if he's playing for a bigger club. I think he's probably walking around with a bit of a strut, knowing that he's the man. And fair enough, he is the man. But I think those little sides of his game, which potentially do let him down, I think that they'd be the first things to go if he got a big move. And I think he will get a big move. I think I really like him. I think he's a good player.
When he played against us the other week, he was like head and shoulders above some of their players. Like, it was just a really good purchase for them, wasn't it? And he won't be there for long. It's just a case of where he goes. Someone
actually made that point to me and said, everyone's saying that the league's shy. You've got a Brazil international playing in the bottom three. I think there was 2 or 3 Brazil internationals playing near the bottom of the table, and you think, well, it fucking can't be that bad if Brazil's players are playing. You know what I mean? So
I think that include Richarlison as well, does it? Yeah, because Tottenham are down there, aren't they? Yeah.
Might have been, yeah. But no, listen. So who've ever got the weekend? Yeah, Wolves. So either or, win, lose or draw, I think. But that it comes back to the point when talking about Everton. And again, I'm not trying to go on the wind up when I say this, and obviously we spoke to Gary about it. It's like what you get excited about for. Do you know what I mean?
Just every individual win. It just makes you feel good in that moment. You know, I don't think obviously for us it's like that means that this is going to happen at the end of the season. I think it's just now about having a like I said a couple of weeks ago, just having a good end of the season with no pressure, going for a pint with your mates, hopefully getting a win. If you get a win, you're probably going to stay out for a couple more pints with your mates. And we've said ourselves sometimes the game can get in the way of a good afternoon out or a good evening out with your mates anyway. So they don't have that hanging over them that they've had over the last few seasons where they probably couldn't be arsed going to the game because of, one, how poor they were performing, but two, the chances of them losing and then getting dragged further and further into that relegation zone. It wouldn't, just think if you're paying 30, 40, 50 quid to go and watch that, in what other like business or what other product do you buy where you're handing over that money to feel that shit? So at least they're not getting that feeling anymore. It's like I can actually go, enjoy, relax a little bit, and what's happening now is that they're getting to see a little bit of good football now.
Maybe I'm a sucker for torture or something, I don't know, but I would prefer the jeopardy of going in each week going, fucking hell, we need to win here. That's just me though, but yeah, hopefully I say hopefully, I don't mean hopefully. Let's see how they get on at the weekend.
Hopefully for our mate Gary.
Hopefully for Gary and all the Blues watching who are like, he's get a win. Nothing else really to report again, is there, on it? Because I feel like we're not really speaking much about them, but what else do we fucking say?
I think something's just come out this week about, obviously you were talking to Gary about that test event the other week and the parking and all that kind of stuff, and I think things are in motion now where businesses are getting a little bit of a leg up, bit of a hand from the council a little bit, where they're allowed to get like more, a certain amount more like parking permits or guest passes or whatever they want to call them.
Yeah.
And they are reviewing the kind of where does that stop in terms of like the radius of where you get that. So for example, my granddad lives off Vauxhall Road, which is a decent walk away from that new ground. But his close, they're part of that 365.
Wow.
And that's a good distance. And the majority of our family, we'll go round to his on a Saturday, for example.
So you need a permit now?
It's permits or like carpooling, so that only 2 cars are outside is instead of like 4 or 5.
Wow.
So it's those kind of things where it's like, who's parking in that close and then walking all the way to the ground? Like, it's got to be like a very small radius where you're impacting like traffic and you're impacting congestion, you're impacting the residents and all that kind of stuff.
If only they'd had a few years to plan this, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not like the stadium's just like gone up in the click of a finger. It's like it's been going on for years, and the planning should have been put in place for that kind of stuff. I don't know whether it's short-sightedness or whether it's them going, we know we can actually make some money here, because that's what they'll be able to do. They'll be able to just get loads of people going round, loads of wardens going round, tickets, and that's a lot of money that they can gain from that 365, because it's not even just match days, it's like throughout the whole year. Like, how does that even make sense?
It's a joke, yeah. No, fingers crossed they change, because like I say, it's not even businesses but just families as well. You know what I mean? There might be families, I can't go there now because of the car or something. So yeah, hopefully common sense prevails. In other news then, around football, a few mad little stories. One that was just on here, I was talking about, this is rumbling on, the whole Jose Mourinho is apparently a racist. He's obviously saying he's not. Galatasaray saying he's basically... And I you know what, I can understand it from both sides. Number one, I'm a big fan of Mourinho, and I definitely don't think he's a racist. But on the other flip side, I can understand why Galatasaray, big rivals of who he's, managing, Fenerbahce, they're basically like, he's done nothing but give, like, Turkey shit, basically. He's come out saying, like, the referees are shite. I think at one point he said the standards of the league shite. He's had a lot of moaning about, I'm not saying individuals in Turkey, but just the general state of play in Turkey. He's done a lot of moaning. He's then poked the kind of big Galatasaray bear, and they've come out and kind of said, well, you know, you're being racist towards Turkish people. He's then obviously fired back, said, listen, and he's come out now and basically said, it's acted as a boomerang, like they threw it trying to attack me, and it's come back now because it's coming out now about all the amazing things Jose Mourinho's done in charities in Africa, all the relationships he's got with black players, and it's kind of biting them on their ass. That's what he's saying.
I think at one point as well this week it came out something along the lines of he was getting sued, or the club were getting sued, and then they've done then a counter suit for like defamation, and it's a bit like that, you know, Colleen Rooney and Rebecca Vardy thing, where one party's throwing something at someone else, and then they go, "Sound, well, we'll throw it back at you then." It's a bit tit for tat in it at the moment.
It is a bit tit for tat, yeah, and it's rumbling on, and he's added then more fuel to the fire, but not so much on the racism thing, but he said he'd be open to a move to manage in Scotland, Celtic or Rangers. I think that'd be great for Scottish football. I don't know how long he'd last. If he's moaning about the state of Turkish football, I don't know how long he'd last in Scotland when they're playing Ayr United away. But it'd be great to see.
Well, he said he wants to come back to the UK. He said he wants to play for... Well, actually, he said at one point he wants to play for the club that wasn't in Europe, didn't he? So he just seems to be changing his tune depending on what day of the week it is.
Yeah, basically. But I think if he did go to Scotland, then obviously he would no doubt win the league, no matter who he picked. I think he could, despite Rangers being way off the boil, I think if he went to Rangers, he'd end up being, you know, right back at it.
You'd get a couple of like shrewd purchases.
Oh yeah.
You'd get players going, do you know what? I'd take a pay cut if it means that for me last couple of seasons I'm playing there. So might get a couple of players on the back end, or you'd get like some good loans from big Prem clubs, for example, because you're getting the players going there to play under Mourinho and under his guidance and all that. So you probably...
I'm up for it. I'm keen for a move to Rangers. Hopefully, I think it'd be great for them.
Get more eyes on the SPL anyway, won't it?
Yeah. So there was that, which I thought was interesting. You've got the Club World Cup, £1 billion prize fund. I don't know much about it. I seen it pop up yesterday with the whole,
it's 32 teams, isn't it?
This one at the end of the season.
Yeah.
£1 billion, like.
So obviously that's not for the winning team, but it's how it gets divvied out. They haven't really given too much information because it only came out yesterday. But basically the prize fund itself is $1 billion, and that's going to get obviously divvied out. Now, the first thing that Gary ended up saying when we were talking about it yesterday was, so FFP basically goes out the window because these teams that are involved in it, they're going to get like 100 million, for example, for turning up. And then that 100 million like acts as part of the FFP then. Well,
yeah, it will enable them then to spend more because they've got money. So
it's the rich getting richer, which that's what obviously FFP was meant to be putting a stop to.
Yeah.
So it's just another way of those clubs, which Liverpool might be a part of over the next couple of years if it's still
Why weren't Liverpool a part of it this year?
Because it's about who is... I think they said something about it's whoever's won the Champions League, and for Europe anyway, it's whoever's won the Champions League in the last 4 seasons, I think.
I don't think Chelsea had that, had they?
When did Chelsea win it with Tuchel? Was that not 2021?
Was it? I don't know.
I remember double check. I'm pretty sure that's why Chelsea are in it, because they have won it recently.
I mean, I was glad Liverpool weren't in it, to be honest, but then when you start talking about, again, we could have banked another 50, 100 million, you're thinking, because you're looking at other teams like City and Chelsea, if they go on and win it, how they can then, like you say, strengthen their financial might, if you like, and buy more players. So it is a joke, and our teams in the Prem even meant to kind of bridge that gap to the kind of top 2, top 4, if they're getting another 100 million or whatever it might be.
I think it's the
Gary's right, it's a fucking farce.
It's the teams that are in whatever league all of these teams are in. I think Madrid aren't in it.
Are they not?
No, because they still are like standing on that whole Super League kind of thing.
Oh, right, okay.
So they've said they don't want to play a part of it because they want to be part of a breakaway, which that doesn't look like it's happening because there's no other teams that want to get involved in it. But Madrid being Madrid, similar to with the Vinny Jr. stuff, they're stubborn, aren't they? So they're saying, well, we're not going to be a part of it because no one's playing with us.
Do you know what I'd be open to? Having some sort of like a throwback to the old European Cup and almost have like a separate European Cup of just a smaller competition with just the winners of the league. I think that'd be good. Rather than making it bigger and bigger and bigger and more teams, I'd say trim it and just have, the champions of England playing the champions of Italy, playing the champions of Spain, champions of France.
The only thing with that is there'll be a lot of eyes on that one, and then not as many eyes on the next ones. So we know that from like Europa League, for example. So then the ones that are like, second to fifth in England's example, you then go into the newer version of the one that's the next one down from the proper Champions League, if you want to call it that. Not as many people are going to watch that than the main Champions League. Then not as many people are going to then watch the Europa League, and they want FIFA and UEFA. They want to be making as much money as possible, so that's why they want to have as many clubs in one tournament.
Do you not think though, if they done say, if they done a tournament where it was like the old European Cup, only the winners could go in it. So there's maybe say 10 leagues across Europe, say, and you just had the champions of each league. But then the UEFA Cup, if you like, the Europa League became almost like from second to fourth in each league and just made it massive. And then the Conference League was kind of fifth to seventh, say. And then the Super Cup would be played against the Champions League, against like the Europa League. I think that would be, I think that'd be fucking mega. Because the Europa League would be better. Because it'd almost be like a kind of Champions League, wouldn't it? Really?
I'm assuming they've done all kinds of research on where people's eyes are and who's tuning into what and who's making what money and all that.
I just think it merits more. Listen, when Liverpool won the Champions League, we were fucking finished fifth, didn't we? So it's like, or did we? Well, I don't know. We
finished fifth that season, and then we got
when we won it.
We got ourselves into the qualifiers for the next season, which we shouldn't have, based on the fact.
But even when we did win it, I think we came fourth, didn't we? Or even when we won it in Madrid, we didn't actually win it. So I am a bit old school, and I'd like to see that only people win the league being in the Champions League. But like you say, money talks, and that's never going to happen now, is it? And talking of money, I'm not on board with this at all. The half-time of the World Cup final, there's going to be some sort of Super Bowl-esque show, which, I don't even want to fucking talk about it. Like, what the fuck's that about?
It's just Americanizing everything, innit? And it's
are they going to make it longer than 15 minutes?
Yeah. So I think that the time is about half an hour, they're saying. Wow. So they're trying to get as many eyes on it for the entertainment reason rather than the footy reasons. So similar to the fact that they've been rolling out people at the start of, Champions League finals and stuff like that, which I don't really think has worked. Only time it's worked is Dua Lipa. I think that's the only time when someone's come away from and gone, the start of the game was a good part. I remember when we went to Madrid, I think Imagine Dragons got booed when they were on, and people were like, what's the point? Let's just get the game on. The half-time show, though, I'm not saying it's always been part of the Super Bowl, but it's part of that culture of the Super Bowl or American football is a full event. It's like from start to finish, like, people doing the tailgating outside and making a full day of it and all that kind of stuff. When it comes to the halftime show, because it's American football, the players are on and off the pitch anyway. When it's footy, you're getting players who have ran their asses off for 45 minutes, and then it's like, right, go and sit in there for half an hour and seize up. Yeah. So what are the players doing? The players have got to start doing stretching and stuff while this halftime show is going on. They're probably getting more depleted and potentially going to get more injuries as a result of that. Now, obviously, it's a one-off, it's the final, but it's a bit of a bad precedent that's getting set, I think. Yeah, because it'll then straight away go into the Champions League final and then the Europa League final, and before you know it, the FA Cup final. Yeah, I'm not a fan at all. And I think, I'm assuming it's to get more money from sponsors and for advertisers, if knowing that there's going to be more people tuning in. So again, it's like a lot of things in life, the right thing is there, but there's another reason which makes more money. There's a revenue stream, yeah. So there's an extra revenue stream that comes in. What's right to do, and that's just focus on the money. And that's what's funny old thing happened again. You also had this week in footy, which was a bit mad. The Lyon manager, I've not actually seen it. I've just seen all the hype around it. Fonseca, he's got a 9-month ban. I've only seen pictures of it. I haven't seen the actual clip where it's happened, but it looks like he kind of tries to throw the nut in on the ref. I think he was getting sent off anyway, maybe. And then I think he's kind of thrown his head and put a bit more pressure on him, kind of like to intimidate and all that. But I was reading up, and apparently the thing that he was moaning about and ended up getting sent off for got overturned anyway.
Yeah. He was kicking off about the penalty, but then the pen didn't get given. So he kind of got himself a 9-month ban for nothing. But there was calls on him to get like a lifetime ban and things like that. So it was, yeah, I mean, he's got himself in some deep waters there. And now he's got a hefty 9-month ban. I mean, what does Leon even do now for the,
So he can go in the changes before the game. He can deliver everything that he would before the game, but he can't then do anything during the game. And I don't know what happens with like press conferences and all that kind of stuff, but I know that he is allowed in the changes. So he's allowed to set up his team, but then obviously it's going to be like assistant manager is going to then do basically everything else on a match day, I think.
Seems a bit harsh, that 9 months, like.
I think that they're trying to,
set the precedence.
Yeah, they're trying to set the stall out, aren't they? And say like, well, now everyone knows.
Yeah. Don't put your hands around the referee's neck if you didn't know already.
Yeah. Now, again, with the slot thing that's come out last week, he got a few games ban or 2-game ban for what he said rather than his actual actions, which was basically along the lines of, if we don't win the league, I'm going to blame you.
Yeah. Which is ironic because that's what Goodison was singing, after the result. You've lost the league at Goodison Park. So Slaughter's basically just said what the Goodison faithful was saying, and he's got himself a 2-game ban and a 70 grand fine. I liked how the referee said, if we don't win, I'm going to fucking blame you. And Slot said, what I actually said was, if we don't win the league, I'm going to look to you. Or something like that.
Oh, really, yeah?
Yeah, they said different versions of events, but essentially they both mean the same thing. One was just a bit more aggressive than the other
you can
one.
get like a lip reader in or something and do it properly.
Talking about fines, I seen Lucas Paqueta. His trial starts this week. It's expected to last 3 weeks over the gambling. The FA want to give him a lifetime ban. That's what they're going for, a lifetime ban, which, again, seems harsh.
I think that's what they'll say they're trying to get, and then they'll meet in the middle, won't they? I can't imagine that.
But if they're after a lifetime ban, though, meeting in the middle sounds like it's going to be a couple of years then, doesn't it, really? I mean, how would you meet in the middle of a lifetime ban? What does that look like?
Because it is as different than Tonali's, in terms of like, he was more blatant about what he was doing, and I think the types of offences that he was given were a bit more, were they more profitable or something like that? Like they were setting up different accounts and.
Well, he's charged with spot fixing offences in 4 Premier League matches. He denies any wrongdoing, but the FA have charged him in relation to his conduct in matches against Leicester, Villa, Leeds, and Bournemouth, all of 2022 and 2023. The FA charges state that Paqueta tried to influence the progress, conduct, or any other aspect of or an occurrence in these matches by intentionally seeking to receive a card from the referee for improper purpose of affecting the betting market in order for one or more persons to profit. So there was basically a lot of betting accounts in Brazil where he's from that were lumping on Paqueta to get booked, and he happened to get booked in these games. And they want to throw the book at him. They want to give him a lifetime ban.
Wasn't one of them like he hadn't been booked but was getting subbed, so he like was walking off really slow or something like that?
I don't know.
One or two of them were like, yeah, it was that game. Like you can tell when someone's actively trying to get booked. Like,
well, he's come out and he said, I'm extremely surprised and upset that the FA has decided to charge me for 9 months. I've cooperated with every step of their investigation and provided all the information I could. I deny the charges in their entirety and will fight with every breath to clear my name. Listen, there was talk about him getting a move to Man City, wasn't it, before all this started? So it's going to be interesting. Next few weeks is expected to last 3 weeks. So I'm saying by the beginning of April, we should have a result on it. But yeah, might be the last time you see him for a long time.
So is he not allowed to play while the trial's on?
Well, he's been playing, I think, hasn't he?
So is it just like...
I think it's just until he gets a verdict.
The sentence or whatever, yeah.
But a lifetime ban seems harsh, I think. Yeah. Before we finish on boxing, other little bit of news. What's her name? God, what is her name? The runner?
Radcliffe.
Paula Radcliffe I just thought it just shows you just the levels of running. So she's come back. So there's a big thing trying to, in like the racing world, to do the 6 majors. I don't know them all off the top of my head. I can name a few of them. You got Boston, Tokyo, New York. I'm assuming London's one of them. The 6 major marathons of the world. She's done, I think, 4 of them. And she's open to get the others in the box. So she done Tokyo last week. Even at the age of 51, she ran at 2 hour 57, which is just insane. So fair play to her. Paula Radcliffe still putting us all to shame, which is some crazy running
Nicola
times.
Carragher do that one last week?
Yeah. Jamie Carragher's wife, Nicola, she's on the same thing to do what Paula's done, trying to do all the majors. Another big red Macker who listens to the pod, Paul Macker, he ran the Goggins with us as well, as did Nicola, funnily enough, and Jamie. They all done it, so there's a few scousers out in Tokyo last week, all running that. They all got good times as well. So yeah, Paul Radcliffe's doing that. As she was 50 minutes behind a world record pace, what she done, or 40 minutes, I think it was. But still running a marathon in under 3 hours is incredible. At the age of 51 as well. I just thought that was a nice little feel-good story as well. And then on boxing.
Big one.
Natasha Jonas this weekend.
I was going to go for the first one.
Who?
Turkey.
Yeah, well, I fucking don't like that story.
Why?
Well, would you want to talk about that first?
I thought that would have been what you wanted boxing to be.
In an ideal world, yeah, you'd want a kind of UFC style, boxing, only the best fights the best. But to me, it won't end up like that, because you've got Dana, who's got the experience of running a really kind of streamline. This is how we do it to get the best fights. This is how it's going to get done. Now teaming up with Turki, which looks like a match made in heaven. He's got the money. Dana's got the kind of blueprint. But I look at that and just go, you really think Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren are going to go, oh yeah, lads, go on. You take this pie, have half each, and I'll just go and sit over here. Not a chance. There's too many different boxing associations, different boards, different titles. All this speaks to me as just throw another one in the mix.
I don't think they're bringing in any new belts, but I think it's mainly for the ring belts, which they're going to then say, this is the belt to have. And I'd be worried if I was Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren that if Turkey is putting all his money into Dana's one, then does he not put a lot less money into what they're trying to do?
But that's my point though. If he does do that, you really think Eddie Hearn's just going to sit back and go, no, he's going to come up with something and he's going to then price out his own fighters and he's going to give fighters other to me, looks like a great idea on paper, but it's just another chef in the kitchen, and I just think you're gonna. I can't see how the idea of having the best fighting the best, kind of like a UFC style. Love that idea. Think it's great, but given the kind of complexities of boxing, with the different belts, the different agencies, the different management agencies, the different things, I just think it's not going to work.
I think if you put the money man in one of, and it's a partnership as well. If you put him into one of the models, then I don't think the other models then work. I don't necessarily think that definitely will happen, but I would be thinking, well, what if Eddie's and Frank's fighters now want to go where the money is, where Turkey's going to be offering them more money, and then Dana gets all these fighters that are the fights that we have been seeing over the last few years. Did they all just become like these TKO fights? And that's where Turkey now puts all of his eggs, and then Frank and Eddie go back to being like, well, we can only do, British shows or whatever.
Well, that's what I'm saying. No, but knowing now Eddie Hearn is and Frank Warren, they're not going to just sit back and just allow this to happen. So I don't.
Mate, you've had Frank Warren holding hands with Turkey. Like, he's the man who's got all of the power.
He is, yeah, but it's like, all right, so what happens to like the WBO, WBA?
I don't know. That's the thing. Obviously, it only came out yesterday, but I potentially, if all of the eyes and the money and everything's going to go into this, which potentially could happen because we've seen how much influence he's had on boxing over the last few years, then those other divisions might become belts that not as many people want. People might still fight for them to kind of, build up the rankings and all that kind of stuff. But in terms of like them being on these like big shows, Turkey's the fella who's putting on these big shows, and if he's now part of, and not just like funding, but he's part of this deal with Dana White, then I think all of those other belts for some of the fighters, obviously like the elite fighters that'll go for where the big money is, which will probably be these TKO fights, and then the other fights just might be you get a couple of points on the rankings if you win this belt or that belt or whatever.
Well, on that note then about the belts, I think all this is doing now, I don't just mean this alone, but the way boxing's gone the last few years with those misfits and some of these like circus fights, gone off the days where people are growing up going, I want to become, you know, the heavyweight champion of the world. I want to become, you know, Ring Magazine's champion. I want to be...
Is that not what this is doing though?
That's what I mean. No, this now will just go into, I just want to box and just make, if I can have 5 fights and make 20 million quid, I'm happy. I'm not bothered about the legacy or the belt or the unbeaten record. I just want to get in the ring with the biggest names, have a few fights and make money. So I think boxing is losing that kind of what made boxing, you know, I want to be the best on the planet. You're never ever going to get that. If there's that many new organisations starting, you're never going to get this one champion.
I reckon that over time this might be the organisation that everyone then
But for that
focuses
to
on.
happen, though, you're going to have so many big organisations drop away.
Yeah.
And they're not going to drop away without a fight.
Oh, they'll definitely put up a fight. But I just think he's shown how powerful he can be. And if the UFC model happens, obviously it'll take a lot of time to get there. It's not going to happen overnight. But I think people's perceptions will potentially drift over to so the person who's got that belt, the Ring Magazine belt, that is the best person in the world. And then all of the other belts might be, yeah, you've got a world title, but it doesn't hold what that one holds because everyone's perception is that's the best.
I think, yeah. Listen, if it ends up like that, great. It's a great idea, but I just think there's too many big names in it who aren't going to want to give up their place at the table. I also think, you know, it could potentially be viewed as the way we're viewing this this Club World Championship at the end of the season. People going, fucking hell, do we really need another competition? Do we really need another tournament? It could be potentially viewed as that, because I can't imagine Frank Warren and Eddie Hearn and what's the lad from Boxers, Shalom, is it?
Shalom, yeah.
I can't imagine they're super excited to hear this news.
Oh no, I'd be shitting myself if I was them, to be honest.
And like you say, if he's got all the money and he says, look lads, this is what I want to do, do you want to come on board? There's not a chance anyone's staying with the promoters in the UK.
No. But that's just, if you think about it, any kind of big business or whatever, if a money person comes in, then it's going to attract all people who are after that notoriety or that exposure or that money and all that. So why would you stay? It might even force, you know, Eddie and Frank to kind of get in bed with it. I don't know.
Yeah, being said, listen.
I mean, it's brand new information from yesterday, so time will tell.
Watch this space, I guess. Yeah,
it's definitely something that's shook it up a little bit.
Oh God, yeah,
because if over the last few years Eddie and Frank have been making a lot of money from these deals with His Excellency, and then he goes, "Oh, Dana White's setting up this one that I'm going to jump on," and then your money man goes, then where do you go from there? If Turkey's going, but I'm actually part of that one, and that's where I want my legacy to be with that business rather than boxing itself.
Because all he's done at the moment, he's not really getting anything from it, is he? Just apart from he's the man who throws the money at it and puts on a great night of boxing. This sounds a little bit more like this, what he wants his legacy to be. We shall see. But on the other big news, a bit closer to home, Natasha Jonas fights this weekend. Down in London, isn't it? In the, what's it called? I forget the arena. It's like I'm sure it's like a historical arena they're fighting in.
Not the Albert Hall, is it?
I thought it might be. That's what I was going to say.
I'll double check why you're talking about.
Yeah, there's been a bit of, not like, I wouldn't say bad blood, but there's been a bit of like disrespect, let's say, between Price and Jonas this week. I think the few jibes at maybe Natasha's age come from one way. Natasha obviously feels a little bit, I think, disrespected, and she's just going to prove herself right. It should be a great fight. I think, obviously, all my fingers crossed for Tasha. Hopefully she gets the job done.
Royal Albert Hall.
Is it?
Yeah.
I should have just said that. I did think
Back
that.
yourself.
I know, should have. Yeah, so I've actually took a little bit more of an interest that I normally would in boxing this week, just because, obviously, you know, friends with Tasha, been a big supporter of her. But there has been a little bit of needle in the kind of build-up. Yeah, a lot of disrespect thrown about, obviously mainly coming from Price, not really putting the respect on Natasha's name. And I think Natasha's just keen to get in there and show her who's boss, really.
I think Tasha's been quite quiet on it in terms of like, I'll just let me box and do the talking. I think Gallagher's kind of backed her, and he's been a bit of a mouthpiece for her so that she can kind of focus on herself, which I think that's a good thing of a coach, to be like, I'll do this. You do the bits in the ring. I'll sort this out. I think Price didn't turn up to the face-off or something on Tuesday.
There's rumours going around that she's been dropped in training as well through sparring.
Price has?
Yeah.
And maybe she just didn't, she had a half a shiner.
It's all, no, body shot it was meant to have been.
Really, yeah?
Yeah, that dropped her. Again, all rumours, and it's all part of the build-up, isn't it? So, yeah, who knows? But I'm dead excited for it.
Yeah, Tasha's not the favourite, like.
Is she not?
No, Price is the favourite.
Wow.
I had a little look on Sky Bet yesterday, so I don't even know what the odds are. If I was off camera, I'd have a little scroll through. But yeah, it looks like it could be what the bookies are saying, like a kind of one of Tasha's like handover fights kind of thing. And
changing the guard.
Yeah, and Price coming through. Like, Price is a good fighter. She's ex-Olympian, and she's someone who box sort of, got a lot of time for him and have made some good fights for her and stuff like that. And I think it could be a kind of, as I've just been saying, like Tasha's bowing out potentially. But we've seen over the last couple of fights from Tasha, she just finds that extra bit that no one was expecting, and she gets through some tough opponents. So I wouldn't put it past Tasha to still get a result. I'm just saying, from the bookies' point of view, and what probably is more likely is that I think, unfortunately, the quotes that Price has said might actually
listen. The bookies were wrong about Callum Smith.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna back against the bookie again this week. I'm gonna go for a Natasha win. I fancy it for this weekend. And
I think a lot of the fights have been 0.70, especially the recent ones as well.
Yeah, Natasha on points, I think, is the bet for me.
And then if we're looking a little bit more local as well, we've also got Chloe Watson. So she's from Birkenhead, and she's on the same card. And one of the reasons that she not got into boxing but stuck with boxing was Natasha Jonas.
Wow.
So it's like a full circle
How
moment.
amazing is that?
So I've done a little bit of reading up, and one of my mates, Andy, who you've been in the boxing with him before in the past, he is mad into his boxing, but he's from over the water as well. So he was like, this is a good few years ago, talking to me about Chloe Watson and stuff. And one of the things that I've been reading up on is that when she was coming through, basically the coaches that she was working with when she was younger, I think it was like when she was 11 or 12, they were like, you can come in, you can do the training, but we're not going to put you into fights because girls boxing isn't really a thing. And then we had the Olympics where Natasha's basically put on a show, put, female boxing on the map. You've got Katie Taylor putting boxing on the map and all that. And then Chloe got more opportunities then because people were seeing it as it is actually part of the sport. It's not just women's boxing, it's boxing. Natasha also went into Chloe's school. So apparently, I didn't know this, but it said that Natasha went to Weatherhead over the water. But then this is where this Chloe Watson's from as well.
That's what school she went to? Natasha's a wall, is she? I want to text
No,
her now.
she's from Liverpool, but in the articles that I read is that she went into her school, and I just thought it was like a careers day or something or whatever. And then it said like Natasha's old school or something. Fact check if anyone knows whether she did or didn't. If that is too
Natasha, you're a wool. Don't batter me, don't.
But yeah, it's a nice full circle moment where
it's a belter, isn't it?
You can get onto the show of your idol and the person who's kind of allowed you to, or paved the way for you to be in the position that you're in. And
maybe that could be the little double to do, because that'd be great if them two could win, wouldn't it?
Merseyside double.
Merseyside double, yeah. Boss, anything else, lads?
That's us, mate.
That is us. Well, thank you once again for tuning in this week. Once again, like I said at the start, if you can subscribe, that'd be great. Please, like, comment, again, share with your mates. It does mean a lot. If you can spare a $5 a month to support us on Patreon, that does mean a lot as well. Helps keep the show going. Have a boss weekend, everyone. Do you want to say anything else?
Nice one for the feathers. We've got Fran Doran tonight, and then we've got, who is it on there?
Jay Murray.
So if you can get down to the feathers, if you're anywhere local around the Bootle area, help the lads out. They've smashed it. Week in, week out, they've always got some belter acts on. So get yourselves down, have a couple of pints.
Nice one.